Hello guys, welcome back, and today I'm going to be talking about 5 potential trade destinations for Mark Stone. Now Mark Stone is arguably one of the best all-around players available in this NHL trade deadline, so which NHL teams will pursue him and what could Ottawa get for him in return? Watch till the end to find out. Now, Mark Stone is a 26-year-old right winger with the Ottawa Senators. He has a $7.35 million deal until after this season, where he becomes a UFA. And this season has been brilliant for Mark Stone. He is finally healthy, and he's really leading the Ottawa Senators in pretty much every single category. So far, he's played 54 games, getting 23 goals, 31 assists for 54 points, a point per game, and that's about what Mark Stone has been for the past few seasons. Now this season, we've seen a lot of trade rumors circling around his teammate Matt Duchene and, of course, him, Mark Stone. He's a very talented winger and could be the captain in Ottawa if they wish to do that, but it seems like at this point, Mark Stone will be traded and a lot of different teams can use his skill and use his talent. Now, the first team I think will be heavily pursuing Mark Stone is the Nashville Predators. They are a very interesting team surrounding this NHL trade deadline because of the potential that they have to go after some really big names. Now, for me personally, I feel like they'll go after Artemi Panarin first, but if they don't end up landing him, I feel like a guy like Mark Stone will be their next target. And Mark Stone is definitely not a bad player whatsoever, and Nashville definitely has the assets to give it up and to get a guy like Mark Stone. But Nashville has had a pretty interesting season up to this point. They're currently second in the Central Division when I'm recording this, but they are a team that wants to compete with the big boys like Tampa, like Winnipeg, like Toronto, and Nashville is a very good team in its own right, but it might really need that extra piece to be one of the playoff Stanley Cup contenders. And a guy like Mark Stone, adding him to that already pretty solid Nashville Predators offense could be really good for them. And with the Nashville power play, that has been something that's been struggling over the last couple of weeks, especially over the last couple of months, but a guy like Mark Stone could completely fix that and completely fix that team. Now, when it comes to my mock trade, in this scenario, I had Mark Stone leaving in the offseason, simply since Nashville, I don't think, can really afford him. But for the players going back to Ottawa in this trade scenario, I had Cal Yancroc, Dante Fabro, who is a good defensive prospect, and a 2019 first-round pick. And that is I think it's a pretty shallow ask for Nashville. I feel like Ottawa will accept that, though, especially since Nashville, I think they are purely looking for a rental here, and I'm not sure if they go too much far beyond that, if they'll actually accept a deal. But with Nashville, they obviously have a ton of assets, so even if they add a couple more prospects, I think they'd still be pretty fine. Now, the next team that I think will heavily pursue Mark Stone is the Carolina Hurricanes. Now, they're a team that I think has an outside chance at Mark Stone compared to the other 4 teams in this video, but I feel like Mark Stone on Carolina could be a very interesting fit that might work very well for the Carolina Hurricanes and the long-term future. Now for my mock trade, in this scenario, I had Carolina re-signing Mark Stone in the offseason, so keep that in mind. But for the players going back to the Ottawa Senators, I had Justin Falk, Jake Bean, who was a good defensive prospect, Alex Nedeljkovic, and a 2019 first-round pick. Now, I think, honestly, that trade could work out for both sides here, of course, with Carolina. Right now, they're pretty solid when it comes to wingers, but adding a guy like Mark Stone would instantly make them a lot better and would honestly bonify that offense. Carolina has been almost always looking for guys that can finish on the puck, finish those passes. Carolina loves to shoot, but doesn't have great shooters, but Mark Stone can definitely be that. And for the Ottawa Senators, you got Nedeljkovic, he could be a goalie in the future, Jake Bean, who's a very solid defensive prospect, and Justin Falk, who's pretty much been in the trade rumors for 2+ years now, but I think now is a good time to trade him. Now, the next team that I think could heavily go for Mark Stone, I think, is the Calgary Flames. And they're a team that I think has a lot of potential surrounding this trade deadline and could really use a guy like Mark Stone for a potential playoff run. Now, the Calgary Flames have had an amazing season so far. It's really been brilliant on their side. And right now, they're looking pretty good with the forward group. I don't think they necessarily need a guy like Mark Stone, but adding him for a playoff run will make Calgary super scary, more than they already are right now. Now, when it comes to the mock trade here, of course, you got Mark Stone going to the Calgary Flames. He has 50% of his contract retained there. Now, for the players going back to the Ottawa Senators, I have Sam Bennett, Yusuf Alamaki, and a 2019 first-round pick. Now, in my opinion, I think Ottawa can honestly get more in that deal. But with Calgary and their situation, I'm really not sure that they can really afford Stone going into the future. After this offseason, they have to sign a guy like Matthew Tkachuk, which is not going to be easy. So they're going to have some cap troubles on their hands in the next couple of years. We'll see what happens, but I just don't think Mark Stone will be able to compete on that team, at least for a reasonable price. And I feel like that package is still pretty decent for Ottawa. Valimaki is a great upcoming defenseman. Stan Bennett could rejuvenate in Ottawa, and who knows what that first round pick can become, but I still think for Ottawa that is a pretty decent package and a pretty decent one for Mark Stone. Now, the next team that I think will pursue Mark Stone is the New York Islanders. They are a very interesting team this season. They've just gone off to an amazing record. They performed and exceeded pretty much everybody's expectations. And for the New York Islanders, they're going into this trade deadline as potential buyers, and they could maybe be in store for a potential superstar, especially with the cap space that they have. Now, when it comes to the mock trade, this trade is pretty ridiculous because the New York Islanders have quite a few spare parts that haven't really worked too much for them that they could give up to get a guy like Mark Stone, but they also got quite a few valuable pieces that they can afford to give up. And for me personally, in this trade scenario, I have the New York Islanders re-signing Mark Stone. I feel like they'll barely be able to afford it. They have some key forwards coming off the books after the season that they will have to give some raises to, but I think they'll be able to get by. Now, when it comes to the trade itself, you got Mark Stone going to the New York Islanders. You also got a flurry of stuff going to the Ottawa Senators. First, Noah Dobson, who was their first-round pick in last year's NHL draft. He'll be the key piece in this trade. You also got Adam Pelech, who is a part of their defense. Isn't the greatest defenseman in the world, but will definitely be a better fit in Ottawa. You also got Joshua Ho-Sang, who is talented enough to play in the NHL. The Islanders aren't really giving him too much of a shot, but I feel like Ottawa will have a lot of room for him, especially after they trade a guy like Matt Duchene as well, and also a 2019 first-round pick, which is the New York Islanders, and a 2019 second-round pick, which is the Calgary Flames. Now, for the New York Islanders, that is quite a bit to give up, but right now, I feel like they're in a position to give up those kind of assets, while, again, giving up guys like Noah Dobson and Ho-Sang. It will be hard for them to give up. I feel like that will be fine, especially since they're in a good playoff position, and again, adding a guy like Mark Stone will be seriously key if they want to go far in the playoffs. Now, the last team that I'm going to talk about, and the last team that I think will heavily pursue Mark Stone, is the Vegas Golden Knights. Now, for me personally, if I had to pick any team on this video to get Mark Stone, I would personally bet on the Vegas Golden Knights. Right now, we haven't heard too many rumors about them going on any other big free agents. We haven't really heard them in trade rumors at all this season, but I feel like they're going to surprise a lot of people and be pretty active, especially in the final days of the trade deadline. And a guy like Mark Stone would honestly be a perfect fit in Vegas. Now, when it comes to the mock trade, going to Vegas obviously is Mark Stone, him having 50% retention on his deal, and the players going back to the Ottawa Senators are Cody Glass, Sean Merrill, and a 2019 first-round pick. Now, that on paper might seem a little bit low value for Ottawa, but Cody Glass is an absolute amazing prospect, one of the best in the NHL right now, and he has definitely aspirations to be a first-line center in the NHL, and he's honestly looking like one. But he is the future right now for the Vegas Golden Knights, and they've been reluctant to trade him pretty much for the past 2 years since they drafted him, and rightfully so, because he has amazing talent, and if he were traded to Ottawa, he would be the franchise guy. But I feel like for Vegas, they got off to that slow start of the season. They've been roaring back in the last few months. They've been playing a lot better. But I feel like for Vegas, if they want to get past, or they want to get back to the Stanley Cup final, if they actually want to win it this time, they're going to have a little bit more star power and a little bit more offensive production. And a guy like Mark Stone will bring that throughout the entire regular season and even more in the playoffs. And a guy like Mark Stone already fits that Vegas mold, I think, of having that high energy, high talent game. And I feel like that is a perfect player to just slot into the first line for Vegas and will be crucial for a possible playoff run. But for me personally, Mark Stone is one of the most electric players in the NHL today. He has had an amazing season with the Ottawa Senators and is really commanding a lot of trade interest and a lot of trade value for himself. And leading up to the NHL trade deadline, there'll likely be a lot of teams fighting for his rights. And even though I only listed 5 teams in this video, I could go on about teams that would really love to have Mark Stone on their team. Pretty much all 31 teams. But going into the trade deadline, there's going to be a lot of teams fighting for him, and it could be an all-out war till the end. But of course, with this video, I want to hear your guys' thoughts down in the comments down below. So let me know, what do you think about Mark Stone, his season so far? What do you think about the 5 teams that I mentioned in this video? Do you think Mark Stone will go to any of them? And of course, the question onto you guys, where do you think Mark Stone will end up? But if you guys want some more Grav videos just like this one, you can click on this card right here to watch my video about Sergei Bobrovsky maybe going to the Florida Panthers and Jonathan Quick possibly getting traded to the Columbus Blue Jackets. But that is going for today, guys. If you guys did enjoy, make sure you like, subscribe, and hit that notification bell if you haven't already. Again, comment down below your thoughts on Mark Stone and which team he'll get traded to. And I'll see you guys in the next video or stream. Goodbye.